two, three.
So let's talk science. Can
Mhm.
we really slow or even reverse aging? What's the hype and what's really working right now? Because it's a buzzword.
Yeah,
Anti-aging. It's
yeah.
a buzzword. So what's hype and what's not?
I think there's a lot of hype. Like it is, like a lot of companies, a lot of people making money on this field, and most people are looking on the outside. How your skin is looking and how's people's hair and all various things and that aesthetically. But now, luckily, we have ways to test how the cells are aging, and many of you have heard like of Brian Johnson, who's the guy who's trying to reverse aging. I'm not sure if you've heard
Hmm.
about him. Um, he's aging right now at half the speed as the average person.
Oh,
So we
really?
have blood tests that can do this now.
Oh, wow.
My speed of aging is at zero point 0.7. So we have ways to measure. Before we didn't have ways to measure, but this has become very recent, is that you can go to your doctor and say, I want to do a biologic age test and see what's the age of my organs, what's the age of my cells. And with that, then we can start to understand, okay, what treatments can actually reverse aging.
Welcome back to the Transform Your Mind radio podcast and television show, the place where we renew our thinking, heal our hearts, and step boldly into the lives we were created to live. Today's conversation is one that I believe comes at the right time. So many of us are doing everything. We're working hard, we're caring for others, we're scrolling endlessly, pushing through exhaustion, yet wondering, why do I feel so depleted? Why can't I focus anymore? Why does my body feel older than my spirit? What if the answers weren't found in one more pill, but in awareness, in presence, in learning how to partner with biology instead of fighting it? My guest today is Dr. Sanjeev Goel, a physician, longevity expert, author, and founder of Peak Human Labs. Welcome, Dr. Sanjeev.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. I love these conversations regarding longevity and biohacking and biology and all that. So I hope you guys are going to be enjoying this conversation as much as I know that I will. All right, so let me give you a little bit more information. Known for blending cutting edge science with mindfulness, Dr. Goel helps people outlive their limits, not just in years, but in clarity, resilience, and purpose. He brings together precision medicine, brain health, tech detoxing, psychedelics, and conscious living. And he does it in a way that's practical, grounded, and deeply human. This is a conversation about reclaiming your mind, protecting your future, and choosing to live awake in a world that never stops scrolling. So grab your notebook, take a deep breath, and let's transform our minds together.
All
All
right.
right, you like that, right? Yes.
That's
Okay.
beautiful, previously said.
All right. So, Dr. Sanjeev, as we dive in, you've spent over 25 years in medicine and now focus on longevity and conscious living. What personal moment or wake up call set you on this path?
Yeah, I was trying to think of if people have asked me this question, is there one particular moment? And it's really a number of multiple moments, to be honest. Because I've been a physician for 25 years, and I went into medicine looking for an answer to help people. And I've tried many, many different paths. Like, I was a psychotherapist for a few years, and I was ship doctor, and I worked in the Himalayas and uh,
Mm, I
psychedelics,
like that
run
one.
cannabis clinic, all types of medical cannabis, various number of ways to kind of try to find the answer. Um, but all through that, I just saw as people are aging in front of my eyes. My grandfather died 96 after hip fracture and dementia. And then I saw my uncles one by one dying from different types of dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's
Mm.
dementia, and when you start to see the suffering that happens when you start to meet older people, then it starts to bring into awareness that this is really, this is the number one issue that I could potentially help with. Um, and I think maybe it was 6, 7 years ago, I did my own genetic test, and I found that I'm carrier of the ApoE4 gene, which means I'm a
Oh no.
double the risk, double the risk.
Oh no. I
And
heard about that gene from Dr. Peter Attia. So yes.
right.
Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, no, I mean, Chris Hemsworth, the famous actor,
Yeah.
he's a double E4, so he's 10 times the risk, so
Oh
much, much
my
scarier,
gosh.
but
I
25,
saw that. I saw that. I didn't really look at it, but I
yeah,
saw it. And he's what, in his 30s, 40s? He's very
yeah,
young.
it's huge. They're telling you that, at 60 years old, there's a very high chance of,
Wow.
in today's world, to get Alzheimer's, but 25% of the population has what I have, which is, a one gene, which is puts you at double the risk. So it's not a death sentence. And I think a lot of people are afraid to even get the test done and wonder, do I even want to know about something you can't control? And I think once I did the test, I'm like, I'm just not going to sit passively. I'm not going to just like let this happen. This now become a mission is like, what, if I can help bring any more insight to this, it's going to help like, so many more people who are all in the same boat.
Wow. Wow. Well, I was worried about Alzheimer's for a while because I'm in menopause. And menopause, you get brain fog and you forget things and you walk into a room and you forget why you came there. And I went to my doctor and I said, well, Um, I've heard about this. I don't remember if I asked him about the test, but after I read Dr. Atia's book, I mean,
Yeah.
everybody is to the awareness of that. And I think he said to me, "Oh, you're not going to get it because your parents don't have it." And I'm not sure if that's correct or not. But I know, as you were talking, that the fact that you have it in your lineage, then
Mhm.
you have a good chance of having it. So as we're starting off with the Alzheimer's, so if you take a test and you find out that you have this APO gene, like you or Chris Hemsworth, who's got four times, what can we do?
hmm Well, I want to first say that these are not like they're not 100% going to happen. Like,
Okay.
my relatives, they had it in their 80s. So it's not like they had it when, much younger. And it does
Hmm.
depend a lot on lifestyle. So there's a lot of things we can control about that. For
Okay.
example, hormones. Uh, if somebody is going without hormones, they're higher risk of getting dementia. So
Mm.
that's one risk factor. Diabetes. We call now Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes because it's
Oh,
so
you're
related to
kidding.
insulin control and metabolism. So there are many things that people can do to keep their brain healthy, including making sure they get enough omega-3s and various other special types of fat that the brain is built on.
Mm.
So
I guess I got to eat those sardines, even though I hate them.
I got to make sure there's no mercury in these sardines.
In them, right, right, right.
That's
Yes.
the other unfortunate thing is that so much of our food is contaminated with
Mm.
chemicals and heavy metals and all that. But it's a complex answer. But what I want to tell people is that we now know that it's not just one gene that causes it. It's a multifactorial thing. And of course, these genes maybe put you at higher risk, but that doesn't mean you can't do things to kind of deal with those risks to kind of keep you, healthy into, long into
Okay.
into old age.
So what do you do?
What I do is that like I said, metabolism is very important. So keeping a very uh, um, good body weight and metabolic health means that, it's keeping your
Mm,
sugar levels in the right range is extremely
mm,
important. And
wow.
even things like heart health. I mean, so cardiovascular health, like how good is your blood flow around? Good in the brain depends on that.
Mm,
Avoiding excess processed sugars, which also can cause problems. They've shown that people who eat more of a low carb or even potentially even have more times of ketosis, it's
mm,
protective to the brain.
mm,
So
hmm.
those good. Exercise, extremely important. That means get more blood to your brain. So that's extremely important. Those are all just the lifestyle. Sleep. Sleep is so
Yeah.
critical, and amount of deep sleep that people get. So, um, we need the deep sleep phase is when the brain is detoxing itself. It's getting rid of like waste molecules. And if you're not giving enough time to go into deep sleep, like some people are, having sleep apnea, or they're just
Mm-hmm.
staying up too late, and the
Mm-hmm.
deep sleep happens at the beginning part of your
Yeah.
sleep.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter if you go to bed late.
I mean, I'm not
Yeah,
wearing it now, but I have a
right.
Fitbit that I track that every night. First thing I
Yeah,
do when I wake up in the morning, I track my deep sleep and my REM sleep.
yeah.
Right. Mm,
Yeah, and if you're going to bed too late, you're going to mess up on the deep sleep, and if you get up too early, you're going to mess up on the REM sleep.
mm,
So, ultimately, it's best to have a good sleep um, of about at least 7.5 hours, something like that. And many people that's avoiding alcohol,
mm. Yeah,
avoiding.
I heard something recently that I did not know before, but I was listening to Kevin O'Leary, and he was on a podcast, and he was talking about how he loves wine, and
Mhm.
that when you drink wine 3 hours before bed, you don't get, I think it's REM sleep or deep sleep. I don't remember one of the cycles. So he decides to drink his wine in the morning. And my husband is a big wine drinker. He has glasses. And I said to him, I think you should look into that. So what's your comment on that? You said something about
No,
alcohol. Is that
for
true?
sure. Like if you when you have that ring or whatever, if you took a drink or two, like, within 6 hours of sleep, it will totally change your heart rate, your HRV. It will change how deep your sleep is. I mean, sure, you might get to sleep quicker because it
Yeah.
does make you less anxious, but the quality of the sleep is definitely disturbed. So I think,
Wow.
I think we have pretty good evidence that it's doing that. So for myself, I only drink on special occasions, and I really try to not make it a regular thing. And I think that it does have an
Well,
impact.
that's the thing. It's true. If you can not drink at all, that's obviously the best thing to do. But like, yeah, I mean, I was really funny when Kevin O'Leary said I think he has a wine. Not only does he love wine, but he has a wine business. And one day he called his wife and said he was down drinking, and she said, "Well, it's 7 o'clock." He says, "Well." But that's the way to do it. Drink it
Yeah,
for breakfast. I mean,
yeah.
but yeah, I mean, it defeats the purpose because, my husband has, glasses, not just one glass, glasses of wine, and it kind of decompresses him after a day. You don't want to do that in the morning. But yeah, but listen, all these conversations, like how did I hear it? I heard it in a podcast. All these
Mhm.
conversations is bringing awareness to people, the things they didn't know, right? So
Mhm.
yeah, so you've just confirmed it.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I don't want people to say, hey, like never drink and do all that. Like I think this is a process. Somebody telling you to stop drinking is never going to work. Like
No,
people have to
right.
start coming into the understanding and seeing, oh, what's the impact it's having? How's it changing how I'm sleeping? And do I feel less energy tomorrow, the next day, and all that? Like people gotta start thinking about that. Like we
Well,
know
some
it
people
has
don't
no.
care because they still drink, they still smoke.
Yeah, that's because it's yeah. I mean, it depends on if they want to live to their top peak,
I know. They
peak
don't care.
human.
The
Yeah.
willpower to stop, whatever, because they're right now we're in this information age, so a lot of people know things and they still don't do it. But then you but we're shifting. We're
Shift.
shifting to consciousness and mindfulness and longevity and anti-aging and biohacking, and I mean there's a good population that's doing the work, and then there's some of them that's not doing the work or don't care, right?
Mhm.
So
It's hard. It's
it's
hard.
true.
Like I want to say it's not, these are not simple things to change. Like telling somebody, stop eating the food that you grew up with for the last 30 years. Like it's not easy. These are habits that are built in. Your brain has, become used to a certain way of relaxing, using these substances to relax or whatever is
Yeah, yeah,
difficult. Change habits.
yeah, yeah, but you can do it.
You can do it for sure. And that's the whole point. That's what we're trying to do is help change the conversation, getting people to realize that they can change that,
Yes.
our brain is the most powerful thing we have. They can do a lot of amazing things. We don't have to be stuck in patterns. We don't
No,
have to be
no,
stuck
we
in
can what?
habit. We don't have to be
That's
stuck in
basically,
automatic mode, right?
yeah, that's
We have to
basically what
start.
this show is about. Renew the mind, right? Yes,
Yeah,
transform. Yeah,
yeah,
it is possible, but it
yeah.
takes work.
No easy solutions, exactly.
No, no, it's not, right? All right. So let's talk science. Can
Hmm.
we really slow or even reverse aging? What's the hype and what's really working right now? Because it's a buzzword.
Yeah,
Anti-aging. It's
yeah.
a buzzword. So what's hype and what's not?
I think there's a lot of hype. Like it is, like a lot of companies, a lot of people making money on this field, and most people are looking on the outside. How your skin is looking and how's people's hair and all various things and that aesthetically. But now, luckily, we have ways to test how the cells are aging. And many of you have heard like of Brian Johnson, who's the guy who's trying to reverse aging. I'm not sure if you've heard
Hmm.
about him. Um, he's aging right now at half the speed as the average person.
Oh,
So we
really?
have blood tests that can do this now.
Oh, wow.
My speed of aging is at zero point 0.7. So we have ways to measure. Before we didn't have ways to measure, but this has become very recent, is that you can go to your doctor and say, I want to do a biologic age test and see what's the age of my organs? What's the age of my cells? And with that, then we can start to understand, okay, what treatments can actually reverse aging? Right now, we don't have a lot, to be completely honest. We don't have a lot of things that can reverse. Um, some of the most promising things that have been shown is things like plasmapheresis, which is plasma exchange. It's,
Mm, the
done
blood,
in,
huh? Okay.
yeah,
All
blood
right.
exchange, exactly. Theoretically, taking someone's young blood could make you younger, and also just removing your old blood can make you younger as well.
Is that what they were doing? Like, blood doping? Is that the same thing?
Blood doping means they're more just adding the red blood cells, and by
Okay.
adding red blood cells, you are actually giving more oxygen carrying capacity for the
Okay, yeah,
athlete.
because I know they were doing that in the races, the
Yeah, yeah. So
French, whatever, right?
that's what's happening. They're
The
taking
cycling races. Okay.
molecules that they're
Hmm.
taking molecules to help build more blood cells.
Okay. So it's
So
not the
that's
same thing with the
not
transfer.
exactly the same. This is more like removing old blood,
Mm.
removing old plasma. Your
Right.
plasma is like, think of it like an oil change. Your plasma
Nice.
clear is the clear fluid of your blood, and
Mm.
it carries all the history of your life. All what you've done is all the molecules, the signals between your cells are carried in your plasma. So
Wow.
when you remove the signals, the old signals, then your
Hmm.
body temporarily making young signals.
Nice.
And so,
Nice.
yeah, it all stems from an experiment done about 20 years ago. These researchers in California, at UC, University of Berkeley, California, they connected an old mouse with a young mouse. They connected the blood supply. I'm not sure if your viewers have heard of this experiment, but they connected the blood supply, and what they found after a few weeks is that the old mouse started to look very young, had lost weight, it was shining
Nice.
fur, its organs were working better, and the young mouse all of a sudden started to get gray hair, became fat, and it died quicker.
Oh,
So
wow.
this is what led to this idea that there's something in our blood that can rejuvenate us or make us older.
Oh, that's beautiful. I've never heard that one before. And I
Yeah.
speak to a lot of longevity experts on here. Now, I know about your biological age, and I think I asked my doctor. I don't have a functional medicine doctor. I just have a regular doctor, and he doesn't know much of the stuff.
Well,
So I think I went to him and asked him that. He's never heard of it, doesn't know anything about it, and I haven't gone. But I do know
mhm.
that I had a test done on my telomeres. And
Yes.
my telomeres are, I'm like 36, which is
That's
30 years
amazing.
younger.
Wow. That's amazing.
So that's one of the ways, right, that you can
That's
test.
another way of biologic age is using telomeres. And
Yes.
um, these telomeres, I'm not sure if, again, viewers are aware, but they shorten as we get older.
Hmm.
And because the cells can only divide so many times. And every time they divide, the telomeres shorten. And that's been linked to shorter telomeres are linked to increased disease, increased cancer, increased death. So we don't have a lot of ways to increase telomeres, unfortunately. We know that good lifestyle keeps people have better telomeres and
I'm a
exercise.
walker, and I think that
Yeah,
that's what helped mine. I
yeah,
walk,
could
5K
be.
every
Yeah,
day.
yeah, it could be very much that.
Yes.
Hyperbaric oxygen therapy has been shown to potentially increase telomere length. So some people are using that. But yeah, it's one of those things that we can
I
measure
bought
it.
that.
Yeah.
Like again, I have a lot of guests on the show that talk about that. And I know that's one of the things that you talk about. But I bought a three part of that thing, and then I recognized that they lock you up in this stuff, and I recovered from claustrophobic, and I says I'm not gonna get myself back into it.
You mean hyperbaric oxygen?
Yeah, that's not the
Yeah.
same thing.
No, it is the same thing. Yeah, and it's you're in this
Okay, right.
chamber, a
Yeah,
glass. You're in this glass chamber.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they lock you in there.
Yeah. They have to, yeah. But it has a lot of healing properties. But you're right, it's not for everyone.
No,
Not for
exactly.
everyone.
So I give it to my husband, so I did not take it. But anyway, so yeah, so that's really, really good. It gives people hope.
Mhm.
Again, and functional medicine doctors are beginning to be the norm now,
Mhm.
because they're just amazing. I'm assuming you're a functional medicine doctor?
Yeah, we call it precision medicine now. It's not, I don't
Okay,
call it functional medicine because it's about being precise about data and understand the
okay,
numbers. So
okay.
that's what kind of the new field in my it's personalized, predictive, it's based on data. We call it precision medicine
That's
now.
beautiful. I like it. That's
Yeah.
that's put it in a nice little bundle very easily.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah.
So what's one habit someone can start this week that would matter in 10 years? One of the things that I've learned,
Hmm.
and I try this, and I'm not sure I'm going to quote Dr. Peter here, because he's the one that
Hmm.
introduced me to all this longevity stuff a couple years ago.
Hmm.
But he talks about the fact that what you're doing in your 30s is going to show up in your 50s. So there's a 20-year span. So what can people start this week that can affect them 10 years out or 20 years out?
Yeah, that's a good point. He does talk about that you have to kind of see what the end goal is and when you're 100 and see what
Right,
you want to
right,
do and
right.
then work backwards, right?
Mm-hmm,
Because,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and he talks a lot about, let's, for example, muscular strength is one of them. But I
Right.
would, I would, I'll tell you something I'm working on. Like, I'm working on, I'm just gonna do a hang, like a dead hang from, with these little things from the door. You can get these little things from your door, put them in your doorway and just hang from the bar. And I'm starting, I start 30 seconds and that's gonna be 40 seconds. I've been doing that every day. Just it takes only 3, 4 minutes, but it stretches out your back and then it builds your strength.
Yeah,
And eventually you start to moving on to more pull-ups. I want to do as many pull-ups as I can. It might only
I
take
know.
two
Yes, he talked
minutes.
about grip strength. So that's
Yeah,
what you're
grip
doing?
strength.
Is it grip
It really
strength?
helps with grip
Right.
strength. And just
Mhm.
hanging from the bar is very good
Wow.
for your body. So something very simple. I would say people pick something simple and you always hear about people start, even if it's a push-ups, do a bunch of push-ups and just do that every single day. It might just take honestly a minute or two and do a bunch of push-ups and then you'll just gradually keep increasing. The body will respond and it'll and I think what'll happen is that not just push-ups, but they'll start to see they can do many other things.
Mm.
It becomes like oh wow, I was able to do this. Okay, so let me add something else. Let me add some other thing now. It's like it's like building a habit, but they gotta start small.
But what you're saying though is that it has to do with strength training.
I think strength training is a good one to do, like where they could see the benefits right away. It's very easy because you see the changes. Strength training is great. Um, I mean, another thing I'm doing is, I'm doing my 5 affirmations. Now, it could be any, that's just takes honestly 30 seconds. But if you can commit to 30 seconds, it starts to change your life.
It does? That affects you 10 years from now? Tell me more
I
about
think it
that
will.
one.
I think I mean, I don't have 10 years to tell you, but I don't have that yet. But I think what will happen is that you start to then build other things that you can do. Like once you start taking one thing that, oh, I've committed to this one thing and I did it. Oh, you know what?
Oh,
Maybe I'm
I
gonna
see.
like
That's
do one more
training the
thing.
brain kind of
I think it's
thing.
training the
Right.
brain. That's the
Yeah.
part I
Okay.
want people to really get
Okay.
into, is
Okay.
about picking something and sticking to it, and
Okay.
then it builds the muscle. It
Yeah.
builds the muscle of commitment.
Yeah. It's
Because I
very true.
mean, for different people's different things, like what they want
Yes.
to be in 10 years, I don't know. But let them, they can at least that they have something that they were successful at,
Hmm.
you know?
Okay.
That would be my kind of two things out there, dead, like for me, it's dead hang and affirmations, but it could be something
I
different for
like
somebody
that.
else, you know?
I'll try the day hang, and I've been trying to pull myself up, and I actually can a little bit now. But
Hmm.
I have because I'm a walker and I am,
Hmm.
I have very great lower body strength. And of course, when I go
Hmm.
to the gym, I work my legs and stuff.
Hmm.
But my upper body has always been weak. So I have tried, and I can actually hold on there for. But you said 30 seconds. I can do that.
Yeah,
Just hold on for a little bit, and
it's
yeah,
good
well,
for
maybe every
you.
time
It's
I
so
go to the
good.
gym, I'll add that.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's I think great. It's a great
Yes.
exercise.
Okay, that's good. All right, so let's talk about dopamine fasting, tech detox, and protecting your mental edge. How is constant stimulation rewiring our brains?
Yeah, I think what's happening is that I mean, look, anybody who's gone back to watch like a comedy show that they used to think was super funny, like I was went back used to watch the Flintstones, which I thought was an incredible, show,
Okay.
and I showed it to my kids, and they were like, "This is completely boring." And even if I watch it now, this is so slow, I can't handle it. So I'm just saying that
Okay.
it's obvious this is happening, is that we are now getting more and more because we have constant stimulation happening. The amount that needs us to get now
True,
stimulated is even
true,
further. Like we
true.
need we need the movies to have a lot of action, constant
Mhm.
scene changes. We cannot hang on if it's just any dead moment. It just tells us that we have their ability to like focus on reading a book. How many people can sit and now read a book and follow through and keep doing it, keep that attention span they used to have? So I
Mm,
think a lot of that is because our brain is becoming used to constant stimulation, constant dopamine hits. And then to get even more response, you need to have even more hits. And I
mm.
think that's our brain is being rewired like that. And technology is obviously pushing that way, right? And all the algorithms are built to keep giving you hits and
It's
grab your
true.
attention.
It's true. It's true. So
Yeah.
you're saying that we gotta, dopamine fast and
Yeah. What I mean is
detox.
by that is that what I mean by that is taking more time to do just nothing. It's not
Mm,
necessarily always even not even a pleasure. I'm just saying doing nothing. How hard that will that be? It's extremely just sitting and maybe sitting on your porch and just sitting and
mm-hmm.
looking outside. That has a very healing effect because what that will do is that when you do go back into the world, you will have you will get the stimulation, you know, easier. You won't need as much there. I think that's a lot of like a really I think smart thinkers do this type of thing where they take like, time, like specific time away from everything, phone,
Yeah.
work, and they're just sitting.
You
And I
know,
think that
there's
could be very
you're from
healing.
India and you talk about,
Mhm.
well, I'm not sure if you're from India, but you talked about the
Yeah.
Himalayas, so I know you've been
Yes.
over there.
Yeah.
But I don't remember if this was a guest or I read a book, but there's people that can go into this. They've got like ashrams or whatever you want to call it,
Yes.
that you can go and be
Mhm.
silent for and totally detox for a week. I'm thinking, boy, I would die.
Yeah. We call it like a type of meditation called Vipassana meditation, but basically these many of these silent retreats exist, even in the US,
Yeah,
plenty of, places, and I think they're very
I know.
difficult,
She went to the
but
US. It wasn't
yeah,
in India. She was right
yeah,
here in the
yeah,
US.
very good. I think these are very good things to do. Hard, and maybe people just start with 1 or 2 days. It's plenty, it's a lot. They
Instead
don't
of
have to do
going for a
seven
week.
days.
Wow.
Yeah, start with 1 or 2 days, and I think what
Well, I
happens
think what
that yeah,
happens
go
is
ahead.
that
Yeah.
I think what happens though with anything, like even for instance, I'm in this challenge right now, and they're talking about doing the ice water challenge, right?
Mm,
And they're saying that, do it for 3 minutes, but after the
mm,
first minute and a half, you're not going to feel it anymore. It's going to be numb. It's the same with fasting. You're after a while, the hard part is in the beginning, and after a while, and I think, yeah, it must have been an interview because this person told me that after 2 days or something, it was easier, but the first 2 days was torture. So, yeah, like anything else, you get used to it. Your body acclimatizes to it.
yeah,
But anyway,
yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think that's exactly what happens. And I've attended some of these retreats for a few days, and they're hard, but then you start to they become not so hard anymore. Like sitting down for 30 minutes and doing mindfulness becomes much easier. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
totally doable.
yeah.
Totally, it becomes doable.
Well, I
Um,
know. Well, 30 minutes sitting down to meditate is doable, but being without technology, without TV, without just you for 7 days, I think that would be torture for a short little while. And then I guess something opens up and you're with yourself, and maybe you
yeah.
go back to your past and you understand who you are, and that
Mhm.
becomes your entertainment, right? But
Yeah, 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 that's true. Some of the best vacations we've had is when we've gone in the mountains. We're far away from
mm,
technology. We've done walks like, where we do camping in the mountains in,
that's so
Peru or
beautiful.
Asia, Africa or whatever. I mean, we those are the best trips. And yes,
Yes,
the kids want to have their phone, but there's no phone, there's no signal.
there's no service.
And then they have the best time of their life because we're playing cards and we're hanging out and seeing
Oh,
nature and all that. So I think
that is
yes, it's hard
beautiful.
initially, but that's how we humans lived. We all
Hmm.
lived like that. Only, my first phone was, not in mid 2000s. I didn't have a
Yeah,
phone. So
no.
like we've forgotten. I think people have forgotten what it's
And
like.
I'm from Guyana. I had no
Yeah.
TV until I was like 18.
Yeah. Exactly.
Now
Yeah.
somebody says, I mean, there is this guy that I follow, and he says, if you're not making $20,000 a month, you should throw out your TV. And I'm thinking, I can't throw out my TV. You know what I mean? Because he says the time that you take to watch that TV, learn something, right?
Mm,
So that's it. Yeah, but we think now we can't do without TV, and I had no TV when I was
yeah.
growing up,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and all right. So your work also blends cutting edge medicine with mindfulness. Let's get to the mindfulness part.
Mm,
What does living consciously look like for someone juggling work, family, and stress? Now, we know you just mentioned about meditation, and I'm a meditator. Um,
mhm.
uh, you know, so I understand the benefits of meditation, but um, I do it for to relax my body and to calm my nervous system and visualization and all that kind of stuff. But living consciously is something totally different. So let's talk about those two things.
Yeah, I think that's very true because
Hmm.
there's one thing about going to retreat and doing that mindfulness, which I think is very helpful. It's a good thing for the brain, like a detox. But when you come back to the world, if you get back into the stress and you're just like yelling at the guy who's cut you off or whatever, then it didn't really make
No,
much impact. And so what I'm really trying to do, and myself and even other people we're talking about, is that trying to bring in the everyday moments to bring it slower, trying to bring more awareness into all the movement, everything we do, trying to be more present with the people we're talking to, and that starts with you don't have to be an expert meditator there. You just need to like work on just trying to like every as soon as you can remember keep on checking in on yourself. Like, hey, how's it going? What's happening? Where am I at right now? What am I thinking about? How am I reacting to something? I think those would be a really much more happier life and fulfilled life if we can have more of those. We can have more attention to that. So I'm really about that now. I may not have such a formal mindfulness practice because you're right, there's so much going on, but
Hmm.
I'm trying to just be more enjoying all the time. So not, if someone asked me what happened in the last few hours, I could kind of say, hey, this is what happened. I don't forget. It didn't happen in robot mode or something. That's what
Right.
I think is, that's
So
the
for
key
someone
thing.
that's busy, which most people are,
Hmm.
um, excuse me, how would you say that living consciously um, allows them to include mindfulness? The first time I heard about mindfulness was it was a while back, maybe in 2015. I had a client when I was coaching. I had a client she was Chinese and she started mindfulness
Mm.
doing yoga, right? Mindfulness with yoga.
Right.
And so that's the first time I heard about it. So we all know that, we're living unconsciously. 95% of the time, we are on automatic pilot and we don't
Yes.
know, like you said, somebody asked you what happened 2 hours ago, you remember.
Yeah.
But we go into a lot of activities we're not even consciously thinking about it. So, what is a practice that somebody can put in place to try to be more living consciously? I don't even want to use the word mindful, but living consciously, moment to moment.
Hmm. That's a good point. I can only tell you what I would, some things that I'm trying to do.
Hmm.
Um, Obviously doing things slower is a good way of thinking about just everything just being slower is probably a good technique. And I'm using technology in some ways too. I'm using one of these little devices that records everything that's happening.
Oh,
It
really?
records and it gives you a summary. This is what's happened. These are all the things that are happening to you and things like that.
Oh,
And
really?
I use
Hmm.
that as an accountability device,
Okay.
meaning that I check in with that and I say, okay, it's recording everything. So if I say I take the affirmations are really important for me. I'm really trying to incorporate that and thinking about them, not just saying them,
Okay.
spending some time to actually think about what do they actually mean.
Okay.
And the device is also listening to it too.
Oh,
And so I
wow.
spend a little bit of time to check in on the day. I think that's a really interesting, that's a good way to kind of, we
Yeah.
probably
Some
don't spend
people
enough
some
time in
people call that
reflection.
reflection.
Yeah, we don't spend enough time in reflection. I think that's a really
Yeah.
good step to help people and dedicate some time to that.
Yeah.
That's the commitment we have to make. Make
Yeah, I
a
know.
commitment to spend maybe it's 10 minutes, reflect.
I know. I
How's it
was
looking?
doing something recently and I kind of committed to doing that, but I don't do it.
It's hard. It's hard.
I just don't remember. I got too many things going on, But yeah, reflecting. I don't remember where I heard it, but at the end of the day, reflect on what you did right and what you
Yeah.
did wrong and
Even if
just,
you send and maybe send an alert to yourself. So
to
remind
remember
yourself,
to do it.
maybe you need this type of things. Look, we
That's
need
a
these
good
type of things to do
idea.
that.
That's a good idea. Right.
We have to
To remind
incorporate
myself to
technology. This is
do
where
it.
technology could be very helpful.
Hmm.
Technology could
Hmm.
help us to do these, keep us on track. Like,
Yeah.
you know, so I think that's
Well,
what
I
I
had
think.
a very great conversation with a guest recently, and he was a biohacker talking about the way your body uses energy. And
Hmm.
he has a wearable that
Hmm.
actually checks in with when your body is leaking energy. And I want to get that.
Oh wow.
Right,
Sounds
so that sounds really good, right? Hmm?
interesting. Yeah, I'd love to know more about how does that work, but that's very interesting. So
Yeah, exactly.
we
Hmm.
do know energy and electricity, like these are new paradigms of medicine. It means a lot of healing is happening. We think through electricity because are communicating through a type of electromagnetic field, not just in
Hmm.
chemicals and molecules. They have other ways of talking with each other. So,
Right.
there's probably lots to this type of new field of medicine.
Yeah, yeah, I've got it. I sent him an email and he didn't respond.
Hmm.
So you just reminded me to, follow up on that because yeah, he came on the show and talked about his wearable and
Mm.
basically what he was saying, we lose energy when we're angry and we lose energy when we're doing a whole bunch of other things. So it's
Mm.
also a reflection thing, and this thing checks in with you and gives you back the energy that you've lost. Like if you're angry, I don't remember what else, but there's certain things
Hmm.
that you do like you can lose your energy. But the one that you have that you're talking about that you use, it's great because you're checking in. So yeah,
Hmm.
these are all the ways that technology is helping you live longer. Energy is very important. Like I said, biohacking is very important. Um, everybody's doing the cold plunges because something is doing helping with your body and all of those, things that you can do. So, which brings me to your lab. You've got a longevity lab where you explore therapies like hyperbaric oxygen, peptides, plasma exchange. We talked about that already. But what excites you most and what should everyday people be cautious about? So,
Mm.
again, some people might not understand the benefits of hyperbaric oxygen. And let's talk about the peptides because the only peptides I know of are the ones that the GLP ones. What else are you
Yeah.
talking about?
Yeah, GLP-1s are definitely peptides and they're so successful and useful.
Hmm.
But there's many other peptides that are not regulated. Some popular ones, one's called BPC 157, which is body protection compound 157, which is also known as the Wolverine peptide because it helps with regeneration and protection. It's actually
Nice.
naturally found in the lining of the stomach, so it
Wow.
protects the gut. And so
Hmm.
people with gut problems are taking it. And it also is helpful in people with tendonitis and you know, ligament injuries and things like that. Just some type of recovery peptide.
Mm.
People are also taking a lot of peptides like that stimulate your own growth hormone.
Mm.
So it
Hmm.
basically tells your pituitary gland to release growth hormone. So you can take a peptide like that. The problem with peptides, many of them are all small little injections. So
Yeah.
that leaves it difficult for people to take. They're still in the early days, and many of these are still unregulated molecules, but you can see there's a huge interest in them these days in social media and all that.
Yeah, they've burst onto the scene, boy. So not only you're right, not only the GLP ones, which, let's explain for someone to know that the Ozempics and the Manjaros and the weight loss drugs they're actually not weight loss drugs. They're actually helping with insulin resistance, which you
Mm.
just told me that wow, that contributes to Alzheimer's, which is scary. Um,
Exactly.
but yeah, so yeah, and even before I heard about the GLP ones and all that, I was on a cruise and they were selling face products with
Yeah.
peptides. So there's
Yeah, the GHK copper is the one that's used in all the face creams.
yeah,
It's supposed to help with wound healing and increasing collagen.
right, stuff like that.
Mm.
So the peptides are doing really well. So give us an example of the areas that these peptides are in. I mean, I gotta look into the one that you just mentioned there. How do people get that? The gut one.
Yeah, I can the BPC 157 you could find I can we can put in the show notes that
Okay.
we're one of the bigger manufacturers of that.
Okay, that's
We're at
beautiful.
shoppeakhuman.com and but a lot of the other peptides we also have as well. I can send a link, but generally they fall into peptides that deal with metabolism, which GLP is one of them. Some
Mm-hmm.
peptides work on hormones like growth hormone. Other peptides work on the immune system to decrease inflammation.
Mm.
Those are like the major categories of peptides,
Is anyone of them working on menopausal hormone decline?
Well, I think at this stage we still say just take hormones. Like
Okay, all right,
take
yeah.
estrogen, take progesterone, take
Mm,
testosterone. I
mm.
think at that stage, you know, that's the
That's
best
the
answer
best way to do it, right?
because the
Okay.
ovaries are not producing. So we
Mm-hmm.
can't, the only way to get them to get it in there is that we have to actually give it. So the evidence looks pretty good, and we want to do it in a safe manner. We want to make
Mhm.
sure people are taking detox supplements with estrogen and that so they can get rid of any harmful estrogens that are produced. But
Mm.
the evidence looks pretty good that it keeps you younger.
Yeah.
Like taking
Yeah.
hormones keeps you younger. So definitely,
Yeah. Well, I take progesterone. I don't want to mess with estrogen, but I take the progesterone cream.
yeah,
Yes.
there you
Yes.
go.
All right. So tell us about the what hydrogen hyperbaric oxygen does.
Yeah,
For
for
people that
sure.
don't know, right?
Yeah, that's for sure. So basically, it's a chamber where you're lying down and you're getting um, high percent of oxygen in the air that's in the chamber. And just so people know is that common room air is 21% oxygen. And so, in our chamber, we're giving 100% oxygen,
Mm.
100% oxygen, and at pressure. So at pressure means like below sea level pressure. It means that if you
Mm.
were inside the water, the pressure that's it would be it's like we almost give two times the pressure, which
Mm.
basically means that the amount of oxygen reaching your tissues is about 6 times normal what would
Nice.
happen as you're walking around on sea level. And so there's no other way to get that type of way of
Mm.
increasing oxygen to your tissues. Even if you breathe 100% oxygen at all these oxygen bars, nothing more is happening because your body's already carrying the maximum amount it can with its
Mm.
hemoglobin. But
Okay.
using the high pressure, you're bypassing
Gets
the
it in.
hemoglobin
Right. Mm.
and dissolving it right in the plasma. And
Hmm.
so you're bringing oxygen to tissues that aren't getting enough. And that's why it's a medical covered treatment, at least in Canada, for people who have like ulcers that are not healing.
Hmm.
If you have burns that have not healing, infections that are not going away, then hyperbaric oxygen is a approved treatment because it's so powerful. It actually
Nice.
does work. It truly does work. We've
Well,
seen
I have to
amazing
pay for my
results
own
with
hair, so I know it's not covered.
it.
But it wasn't very expensive. It was only like $200 or something.
Yeah,
So,
$200 and usually a session. But you
yeah,
have to do about 10, 20 sessions
right.
to get
Yeah,
the
so it wasn't expensive. But like I said, no, thank you.
yeah.
I was sold on it because, yes, I understood exactly what you just said,
Hmm.
that how great it is for your body and all that stuff. And I says, okay, you know what? I can't be listening to all these things and not doing anything. So I went and I ordered it. And then I called them and I said, show me where it is, what it looks like. And then I see this thing. So I sent my husband, I says, okay, you go take one and come back and
Hmm.
tell me, because I
Hmm.
bought three. You come
Hmm.
back and tell me what it is. And I says, well, no, thank you. Right. Because
Hmm.
what happened with me, full disclosure, I went to a spa once and the spa locked me in a capsule for 20 minutes and left me in there.
Hmm.
And I couldn't get out. My hands were wrapped up and it was something that it was supposed to, it cellophane wraps you with the heat or whatever. And you
Okay,
maybe,
got it. Right.
right, right.
Hmm.
So after that, when I'm in a plane, when I'm in a train, when I'm anywhere that I can't get out, I had this experience. And it took me a long time to get over it. And I says, you know what? I'm not I'm not putting myself back in that because yeah, imagine nobody ever thinks that when you're in a plane you can't get out.
Yeah, I hope I don't want to start thinking that because then you get into a problem and start thinking that.
Yeah, and even on a train when they stop in between the whatever and it's
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so I had a big reaction
You
to
have a
it.
type of anxiety, the type of anxiety
Yeah,
that makes it.
claustrophobic
Yeah,
anxiety kind of
this is
thing. So
yeah.
I says I am not doing that. So I didn't get my oxygen some other way. So
Mm,
so right. So all right. So tell our listeners how they can connect with you. I know you have a Peak Human Labs podcast. We didn't talk about your book, but you have a book that's called Going Nowhere, Getting Somewhere,
mhm,
right? And your
yeah.
social platforms and your website.
Yes. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. Most people can reach me on Instagram. It's Dr. Sanjeev Goel, Dr. first name, last name. And my website, people can learn about me at sanjeevgoel.com. That's probably the easiest way. And yeah, happy to answer any questions people have or people are just interested in longevity. That's my whole mission in life, to help solve that problem.
Okay. And all right. So you give your social media handle and your, yeah, tell us about your book then on your podcast.
Sure, sure. Uh, yeah, the podcast, we're bringing together people who can shed some light on how to be peak human. So something they can teach other people on how to live a great, fulfilled life. Um, Sometimes we talk about, health experts as well. So that's on our podcast. You can find that at Peak Human Labs. It's
Hmm.
on Apple and it's on YouTube. Um, and then, sorry, what's the second question you asked me? I apologize.
Your book.
Oh yeah, the book. Yeah. Going nowhere, getting somewhere is my newest book. And basically it's a very readable short book that gives you some of these concepts. And normally I talk about I want people to understand the big concepts because then they can take it and they can apply it to their life. Like for example, in the book we talk about the concept of hormesis, the idea that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Well,
And
that's in the
and to
Bible, I
apply
think.
that. Sorry?
Yeah,
That's
nice.
we can apply that to so many things in our lives. Is that we
Yeah.
need some amount of stress, not too much stress,
Yes.
but we need
Yes.
some amount of stress to make us stronger. And that's why we
Yeah.
talk about that. We talk about, the endless cycle of growth and decay that's part of our makeup, our cells, or they're constantly growing and dying, and that we have to accept that and the cycle of that. And we need to live with that cycle and use it. And then thirdly, I always talk about being in rhythm with your internal body and your external environment. And if you can live in rhythm and harmony, then you have less stress and you live longer. And that has, been shown. So when we're out of rhythm is when all the problems happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those
Rhythm,
are
you can also
we
call that alignment. Same thing.
alignment, yeah, harmony, alignment. Yeah, I think we are, we're all full of rhythms. This is the whole body is made like that. So it's when
Mm.
people understand these big concepts, and that's what we're trying to teach you about the book is, the title itself is a koan, means it doesn't make sense. And the idea is that, people are always searching, 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 and really everything is right here. That's the whole point of that, is that
I love
we don't
it.
have to always go run somewhere else when
Hmm.
answers are all right here. So,
I love
um,
that. I'm definitely going to pick up a copy. I like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Wow.
hopefully.
I'm a big learner, and that's why I enjoy, talking to guests like you because I'm a learner, and I have been, since I was 10. So it's not anything new. I love to read books
Mhm.
and learn things, and yeah. So amazing. Great. Well, Dr. Goel, thank you so much for this powerful and enlightening conversation. What's stayed with me today is the simple truth that longevity isn't just about adding years to your life. It's about adding life to your years. It's about becoming conscious again. It's about protecting your brain in a distracted world and listening to your body before it has to scream for your attention. It's about realizing that healing, real healing, starts with awareness. So, to everyone listening, if this episode stirred something in you, if you recognize yourself in the exhaustion, the mental overload, the longing to feel vibrant again, let this be your reminder. You don't have to keep running on empty. You don't have to wait for a diagnosis to change your direction. You don't have to stay disconnected from your own power. Small shifts, practiced daily, can transform the rest of your life. Dr. Goel, give us a couple. Hang for a couple of seconds, do some push ups. We've all heard that. Anything to do with your body weight, and which is great. I go to the gym, but you don't need to go to the gym. You don't need to have expensive equipment. You can just, use your body weight and make a difference. Right. So make sure to check out Dr. Sanjeev Goel's work, his podcast, Peak Human Labs, and his book, Go Nowhere, Getting Somewhere. I'll link out to these things in the show notes, as well as he's going to send me the link to get that peptide so
Yeah.
that you guys can, because I want that. Gut health is so very, very important. And I'll also have an article on our conversation with links to all those things on the show page, which is myhelps.us. Right. So if today's episode's blessed you, share it with a friend, leave a review, and subscribe. Because the more minds we transform, the more lives we can change. So, as we wrap up, Dr. Goel, do you have any last words?
No, I thought it's so beautifully said, and I'm just so thankful you gave me a chance to share my thoughts on how to transform your mind. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And transform your life in the process. Amazing.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So, thank you for being on the show. So, until next time, renew your mind, guard your heart, and remember you were created to live well. Until next time, namaste.
Namaste.